The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. It's time for Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. We'll talk all things Hokie wrestling with Coach Tony Roby and staff. Now, let's join your host, Hall of Fame wrestling writer and broadcaster, Jason Bryant.
Another episode of Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. Did not have to wait very long to bring Coach Frayer back on the program. The old man in the sea holding it down for the class of 1997. Jared.
Yes, sir.
This is something that Coach Roby alluded to on the last episode. He really didn't give us and the listeners of Hokie Nation any real hint until Flo kind of broke it and said that when you were entered. But let's just get right to it. The opportunity and the enticement to wrestle in the U.S. Open. Let's get to the genesis of it. Where did it start, and whose idea was it?
Well, I guess it all, these guys are always trying to egg me on to wrestle, and I'm at that age where it's okay. I'm okay with not wrestling, and
what age is that, by the way? What age do you get where you're okay not wrestling?
It's probably once I got out of wrestling for 3 years, and I think that after that I was good to cut the cloth per se. But yeah, we've made bets over and over, and everybody kind of talked about the World Championships when Makai and I would bet Skittles and different things for matches, and that's just what he likes to do, and I'm okay with letting him have some treats when he does great. And he brought this up a couple months ago before the ACCs and said, I'm going to win this thing, and I'd like for you to wrestle in the Open if I do. And I said, well, you win this thing, and I'd be much obliged to. And sure enough, it came to fruition. And I was I guess I'd kind of been training, and for a guy that's 40, if I wrestle twice a week, I'm about as in shape as I'm going to be. If I do any more, then I'm going to be, in a wheelchair. So that's what happened. And I'm probably not the optimal weight class, but I felt good, relaxed, and it was a treat to go out there and compete.
And off the top of my head, top 7, did that qualified you for the trials, right?
Technically, I am qualified for the trials, and the competitor inside me says, the second time I'll be that much better, and I could make a run, but I think that the wiser man is probably gonna just stay in the corner and coach it up.
Yeah, a lot of people when they come back and wrestle, they'll go to Vegas, they'll wrestle in like the Masters or what used to be the Veterans or something, and people will stand on top of a podium when, with a stop sign in an uncontested weight class and brag about it. But you went right at the kids. I mean, you finished 7th, picking up 5 wins. You beat some pretty notable names along the way, and you're sitting there scrapping with guys who've been on the podium recently. I mean, does it kind of make you kind of validate a little bit? It's like, what, I was really good at one time, and I still got it. If these guys want to mouth off on me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a. I was excited to compete, and I know, if I'm wrestling and holding my own with a guy like Makai or Dave McFadden or these guys in my room, I know I could still roll with some of the best, and it was fun, it was a blast, and I'm glad I got the chance to do it. I'm glad I was able to stay healthy and put on a couple good performances and do what I normally like to do, headlocks and lateral drops and front headlocks. So it was fun, and yeah, man, it definitely gives you some confidence, and I can probably keep competing in the room for the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah, man. So that's exciting, and just glad I'm healthy.
Was this an all or nothing bet though? If Makai would have gotten to the finals and not won, would you have still wrestled, or was this no? You got to win the title for me to do this.
Oh, it's a win the title type bet, and that's kind of talking to. Everybody and their mother were saying thanks, do it for us, appreciate you doing this, is awesome, and and then talking to guys I competed with, the Schwabs and the Zadeks and the Lawrences and Chirellas and Larkins and all these guys, they're like, hey, all of my guys are trying to egg me on to wrestle, and I'm telling them, you go win a national title as a freshman, I'll wrestle. So it was pretty funny hearing all them talk about it, and man, it's definitely a type of bet that as a coach you're more than happy to be a man of your word.
See, that's the bar. Not like, hey, coach, if I place. No. See, Makai already set this bar here. You can't really go any higher unless it's when it is a true freshman. It's like the only thing you can do better to entice a coach. Now, was there any discussions about maybe trying to egg Tony Roby into wrestling? Maybe we could have cut some slack and let him go into the Masters divisions. He does not. He's not going to like that either. He's not going to like that comment at all.
Yeah, no, that would never happen. And he's a brute in the room. So I'm not even going to bring that up.
Now, just hypothetically, if there was a situation where all these head coaches and such at USA Wrestling's like, all right, you know what, we're all going to go wrestle in this Masters and go overseas and like win all these, try to win Masters World Championships. What do you think the most formidable team would be based on age and ability right now? If you were like in that 40 to 45 range, who would you want on your team, regardless of weight class?
And you got to be a head coach?
Well, I mean, somebody that's
got to be a head coach at over 44, 45?
Yeah, somewhere in that range. I know I don't have birth certificates for you to lay out, but I mean, just hypothetically, who are some guys you think could still scrap if they were like, all right, I'm going to go rough some people up in freestyle overseas and against some other old dudes?
Man, those are some good questions, man. I think I don't think it would take long for Chris Bono to get back and fight in shape. I remember wrestling my first U.S. Open in 1997. So that goes to show you that was 22 years ago.
Yeah, we're old, dude.
Pat Santoro, and that dude was a bad man. So I don't think it would take long for him to get back into fighting shape. He's probably still in fighting shape. So those two guys, and man, I'm sure the list goes on and on. It wouldn't take long for Tom Brands, Terry Brands, those guys to smash some heads. So, yeah, man, I would like our American brand, hardcore muscle car guys to go out there, and I think we'd have no problem sweeping the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that comes from Mark Branch kind of just teasing about, oh man, I haven't made this weight in a while. Maybe that's where the idea came from, but. When we look at the U.S. Open, it was more than just Jared Frayer. We'll come back to your freestyle acumen here in a bit, but Cody Brewer recently added to the staff. Boom, U.S. Open champion. You guys going to take a lot of credit for that?
Yeah, one 24-hour recruiting trip out here. We showed him all that he needed to know. So now I've been in contact with guys that he's been training with, Leitner and Howe, and they're just saying he's been looking lights out, and going into the tournament, I think they anticipated him to do what he did, and just kudos to Cody for showing out and doing what he needed to do to get that W in the finals, and it's a doggone tough tournament, and every match is a big deal, and from last year I think he was 1-2 or 2-2. And for him to go out there and really, wrestle lights out and put himself in a really good position to push himself to the final X is pretty awesome. And, we're just so proud that he's a Hokie, and, the guys are excited to get him. He's actually coming in. He gets in at 5 tonight, so he'll be here for a couple of days, trying to find a house and then get back to training.
Yeah, what's it mean for you too? Because this is a guy who is another Sooner great, and to have him on staff with you, even though it's not Norman, Oklahoma, it's Blacksburg, Virginia. There's got to be a nice little sense of pride there. A couple OU boys are going to do well in Blacksburg. No doubt.
Obviously, a comfortable place where we can have the meeting of the minds. My wife's a Sooner grad, and so it's going to be fun. I was able to coach him for 3 years in Norman, so very familiar with what he's capable of, and what his mindset is, and just what he brings to the team, brings to our younger guys. Going to be a huge help for guys like Mitch Moore, Corbin Myers for 1 year, Colin Girardi, Sam Latona, all our younger guys and little guys that need someone that to have his hands on them every single day is going to be a huge opportunity for our lightweights and our future, young and lightweight recruits coming in. So fired up. He's a guy that's going to be able to wrestle for a long time in the wrestling room and really
do some damage to our lightweights and add some pretty awesome skill sets to the wrestling.
Yeah, with that skill set, I mean, you were talked about some of the things you had hit at the U.S. Open, but things have you been known for coming through college and, not being afraid to go for the home run and hit stuff. Mitch Moore's kind of that wide open type of guy, always looking for the fall from really any position. How do you teach that? I mean, how do you or a guy like Cody Brewer, how are you going to be able to say, okay, guys, here's how you do it when they might have had a set wrestling style since they were like 12, 13 years old?
Yeah, and what's especially with a guy like Mitch Moore, he has those home run has that home run capability, but you got to be able to hit the singles, and that's really what Cody Brewer's done such a good job throughout his career. As a 4-time All-American, NCAA champion, he's able to go out there and hit a good clean single leg, good clean double leg, turn it into a leg Turk like he did when he had his run through the NCAA tournament, where he was major decision guy, some of the best guys in the country just by falling into a leg Turk from a leg attack. And then when he needs to, he's got it in his bag of tricks to pull out a lateral drop or an arm throw. So it's really just building that foundation and giving the guys the confidence to be able to get to a leg, but then also wrestling to the point where you always have that in your back pocket, and that it's definitely a learned skill, but to have a couple guys that can teach it and go through the correct steps to get to that point, it will be huge for these guys. And fired up for a guy like Sam Latona who has great leg attacks and has also won Fargo with those leg attacks, but to also add those high scoring maneuvers is going to be pretty awesome for him.
Now we're going to shift back over to the freestyle side of things with your career. I want to go a little bit into the philosophy of freestyle. You grew up in Florida, a pretty good program down there in Clearwater at Countryside, and Florida Amateur Wrestling Association, FAWA. I believe that was what the name of it is, right? Is that still current? Yep. So, and there's a good system there. I remember taking a bus to Jacksonville for Southeast Regionals back in the day, and it's been in places like Boone. It's been all over the Southeast, and the idea of wrestling freestyle where there's powerhouse folk style programs. I mean, what was the philosophy instilled in you from the coaching staff you grew up with and the state to say, we're going to go to Warrensburg, we're going to go to Fargo, we're going to go to wherever these national championships are and excel in freestyle and Greco?
Well, the interesting thing with me is that there was never a folk style opportunity to wrestle till I was a freshman in high school. So the only opportunity I ever had was to wrestle freestyle. These states like Ohio and Pennsylvania and Oklahoma, and where they had, junior high folk style. I mean, we never had folk style wrestling in the state of Florida at a young age. So my first folk style match was my freshman year of high school. So that's a little different than most people. So the only opportunity I had was to wrestle freestyle and wrestle USA Wrestling. And when I was young, AAU was pretty much strictly freestyle Greco and Sambo. So I would wrestle in as many of those tournaments where I was seeing guys like Mike Zadek and all the guys from the West Coast in these AAU tournaments in Billings, Montana, and Indianapolis, Indiana, and just all really all over the country, wherever the NCAA or the AAU Nationals was at. And so there was no opportunity to wrestle folk style. So I was kind of stuck in the position where the only time I would wrestle folk style was in my dad's high school room when I was a young kid and learning it that way. So freestyle, I was at every tournament. Brandon High School would have literally a freestyle tournament every other weekend, and I'd be there wrestling 6 weight classes and refereeing and doing everything I could to be on the mat. And it was that's just what we did, and I was blessed enough to learn the sport that way. And I always knew it was kind of wild going through college to where I knew that folk style or freestyle was my future. That was what I was best at. That's what I knew how to do, and that probably hurt my folk style wrestling at the college level. And sure enough, once I graduated, my best years were still ahead of me, and that's where my dreams lied. I was watching the '84, the '88 Olympics, and '92, in Seoul, and those were my dreams. Those were my aspirations. The only collegiate wrestling I was able to see the results just being in Florida, where the closest thing was probably UTC as far as college wrestling when I was growing up, was the Amateur Wrestling News or the I don't even know. I don't think Wynn or any of those guys were around back then.
Wynn started in 97 when we were seniors in high school. 95, 96, 97, I think that's what it was. It might have been, I don't think, 25 years. Might have been, actually might have been a little earlier, 94, but I know it was not very long. We were still in high school when it was started, put it that way. Because Intermat had started in like 95, if that gives you any relevance. We had the dial-up internet in the library that we had to sign in to use to check out Intermat.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, that's how it all really came about for me, and that was really the only thing that I had. I wasn't wrestling year round. I was waiting until freestyle season started after my dad's high school season ended, and it would wrestle all through the spring and summer. And there was years that I'd have 200 to 300 matches of just freestyle and Greco, and then in AAU I would go wrestle Sambo because that was another thing I could compete in. So
which is that's submission style grappling, if for lack of a better term, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, my college roommate was like a multiple time Sambo national champ. He went over to Russia for Sambo Worlds or something and just got crushed because we don't do Sambo here in the United States.
Exactly.
Because that's kind of their national style of wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So throw the gis on and look to choke somebody out, or find ways to score points.
Now, when we look at your career growing up, and I'm trying to remember the timeline because I didn't really get into Fargo. I didn't go to Fargo until I was actually part of the media in 1999. So Fargo wasn't necessarily Fargo until through your high school career. Because when you went to a cadets in 1993, it wasn't in Fargo, right?
Correct.
Warrensburg, right? Warrensburg.
In 93, I wrestled in Columbia.
Okay.
Columbia, Missouri, in the cadets, and then 2 weeks later, I drove to Fargo and wrestled in juniors. I wrestled cadets in Missouri, and then would drive up and wrestle in Fargo for the juniors. Yeah, because juniors was up there.
Yeah, it'd be 1994, according to your bio that I have here. Double placer cadet free and cadet freestyle, cadet Greco, and then there he is, junior Greco, 8th place. Now, looking at the line of this, you placed 7 times at the Junior Cadet Nationals, 4 of them in Greco-Roman to 3 in freestyle. Why were you so much better in Greco? Well, not so much better, but why were you, credential-wise better in Greco than you were in freestyle in those age groups?
Man, there were some pretty tough weight classes back then. So, I just, I think I had wrestled both my whole life, and maybe I was a little more credentialed, or there was a little less competition. Probably was more or less the case. I know back in the, in 94, 95, 96. In 96, I think we had 3 Olympians in my weight class, and multiple NCAA champions. So it was me, Mike Zadek, Doug Schwab, Jameel Kelly. The list, Tony Davis. The list goes on. I think Larkin was in there somewhere. Just a ridiculous lineup. Along with 160 other guys.
Yeah, we're going to look at 1996 junior freestyle, 132. Weight class won by Mike Zadek. Second was Michael Leitner. Number 3 was a bad dude that most people forget named Quinn Foster, who was he was a Northern Virginia guy and then ended up going to Blair his last year or two. Carlos Blanco. This guy was also an animal, never really wrestled in college. Schwab was 6th. Sean Gray was 7th. You and him was 7th, 8th. So there's some Hokie ties through here too.
No doubt. Yeah, there was some impressive weight classes back then, and like I said, that's probably why I placed in Greco, because you didn't see a guy like Michael Leitner wrestling Greco. That guy he wants to stay away from the upper body as much as possible, but man, that guy was pretty impressive on the leg attacks. So,
jeez, if memory serves, I think Blanco beat Carl Perry back in the day at high school nationals. I think that might have been about the right time. I think Carl was a year ahead of us. But man, I'm looking at that. Yep. Now let's jump ahead to 1997. You win it. Your previous best was 5th at these other weight classes. Then 97, here it is. You win it over Zadek. Ty Reynolds, who was a beast from North Carolina, was 3rd. Chad Erickson, who's from Minnesota. Scott Owen, New Mexico. Brian Smiley from Indiana. Tom Wald from PA. And then Billy Smith, who I remember is an absolute animal from Pennsylvania. So 132, you had graduated. So you're going to Fargo after you've graduated to win that title. I mean, the mindset there, why do that?
Well, I knew that I would always, that was a goal of mine, was to win Fargo or to win a junior national title. And, and that's what I did. And there wasn't, there wasn't 14 different national tournaments going on. There wasn't flow. There wasn't. I believe high school nationals was going. It was just seniors.
Yeah, seniors only.
In that I took third in that. And yeah, I knew that was my best style, and back in the day, that's kind of what I think college coaches wanted you to do, was continue to compete throughout the summer, and that's at that time I had, I think, Chuck Barbie and Jack Spates, Barry Weldon on staff at Oklahoma, and that's what they wanted me to do, and I was fired up to do it, and I me and Zadok had always gone back and forth, and so I was excited to go out there and compete and show what I had.
Yeah, and let's go back to that folk style side of things. Yeah, who won your weight class 1997 at Senior Nationals?
Who won John Mark Bentley?
That is correct. Current coach at Appalachian State.
John Mark. I got caught and pinned in the quarterfinals and wrestled back and beat that kid for third and fourth. And who did John Mark Bentley beat? I can't even think about it. But
Billy Maldonado.
There you go. Iowa State, Indiana boy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I get kind of like, I remember, because this is right when I was getting into, wrestling at the national scene. So I'm seeing names that I remember. Like, I remember, Mike Kahn from Pennsylvania. He was like the biggest 103-pound senior. I mean, he's got a full beard out there wrestling freestyle tournaments. And then, guys like, Carlos Blanco won it at 125. I mean, I'm looking at some of these names, Sonny Marchetti, who's now coach at Notre Dame College, Pierre Pryor. I'm sure you remember him from Virginia, like Mike Shingard. You ever run into that guy from Blind Mountain, Pennsylvania? Might have been one of the meanest guys I've ever seen on a mat.
Yeah, there were some bad dudes back then. There's no doubt about it. We used to walk uphill both ways, 3 foot of snow, bare feet. It was terrible.
Yeah, this is as I'm thinking today, like my 40, I don't turn 40 until August, and I had made a kind of a bet with, this has nothing to do with wrestling. Well, it kind of does, because it's in Colorado Springs. I said, I want to finish the incline by the time I turn 40. And I did the math today. I go, there's 2,744 steps up that 1 mile incline in Colorado Springs. I'm like, crap, I got a couple months to do this. Can I do this? So it's
you can do it. Get on it.
I got to do it. I think I figured it out. To train at home, it'll take me to go up my steps 211 times to match. So that's not counting down. So that's
just go do it. There's no training.
Yeah, no, dude, it's the altitude, man. Come on. Now, getting to the philosophy behind it, because wrestling's changed over the last 20 years. There, as you said, you alluded to, there are more tournaments. There's more exposure. That it's more than just, Win and AWN and Intermat. Now you've got Flow everywhere. You got YouTube video everywhere. You got all sorts of websites that are covering wrestling in vastly different ways. Social media and Instagram. I mean, Dylan Palacio's Instagram famous for being a homeless guy wrestling people for $10 on the sidewalk. I mean, it's just, you could literally see any type of wrestling anywhere. But when it comes to the mentality of recruiting kids and saying, okay, how much more are you guys going to look at kids that do the freestyle circuit in the summertime versus, say, and I'm not trying to disparage any of these folk style events, but like, the Disney Duels is a giant folk style event, and it draws hundreds of teams, but it's folk style versus freestyle. I mean, how much do you see maybe Virginia Tech and other college coaches going, what, that's a good tournament, but we really want to see where these guys are going in their next level aspirations?
Yeah, I mean, I think different coaches have different perspectives on what they're looking for, and I think in these freestyle events, you're looking for the complete wrestler, not the guy that's just scoring the freestyle tilts and turns, but getting takedowns and staying in good positions when they're finishing their takedowns, and just being students of the sport. I think having a good variety of both is only going to help your level of wrestling. And then, seeking out the best competition. The best guys are going to freestyle events. That's where you want to, track down the guys that maybe beat you throughout the season, or wherever you can find that best competition. Some of these guys that are just going to the dual meet tournaments and wrestling on these powerhouse dual meet teams and not seeing the best competition. I think that's what we're looking for. We're looking for guys that aren't dodging guys and want to compete, and regardless of the style. I think as ever there has been before, both styles complement each other pretty closely right now, to where you don't have to risk a front headlock. You can wrestle a front headlock and maybe threaten a little bit and then run down your takedown. 2 points is 2 points. Everything's just about the same. Obviously, if you have a good gut wrench or good ankle lace, that's going to help you, but you got to get the takedown first. So, yeah, I don't think there's a huge disparity in what we're looking for, whether it's freestyle or folk style. But just seeing these guys compete, going after the best competition, getting their hand raised, and seeing how they take challenges when they are beaten, how they come back and become better for it. So I don't think as a staff, I don't think we have a huge difference one way or another, whether we like to hit up, we're going to hit them all. If you're not recruiting, your program's not breathing. So we're gonna find the best guys regardless of the style, and show them what a great place this is to come to school.
Style's undergone some massive changes, thankfully, because we had a rule set put in 2013 that resembled wrestling closer to when you were coming through, at the cadet and junior levels, and there seems to be an elevated prominence of Fargo again. The 3-period system seemed to ruin it for a lot of kids and a lot of coaches who didn't feel like they wanted to teach a binary code, 0-1-1-0-1-0, push out, step out. You could actually score 2 points and your opponent could score 6 and you could actually win the match type of situation. Mm-hmm. So how much from a recruiting standpoint has the rule changes to get the kids wrestling something that's, more equitable or more complementary to the collegiate style of wrestling that's kind of raised the profile again of Fargo and says, okay, these kids are going out here and I can see some correlation here. These are kids that are actively happy about wrestling the style of wrestling because of the rules.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, you said it all. It's that the rules are as comparable as ever, and I think that helps the model that you're trying to sell, especially for USA Wrestling when when you can compare it to a folk style match. I don't believe in the fact that changing our folk style to a closer freestyle is going to help the product. I think the product of college wrestling is one of the best selling wrestling events, wrestling styles that there is, just because the rules haven't changed in 100 years, and the people that follow it know and know that it's not going to change, and it's not going to change weekly. So, and what wrestling UWW has done over the last 2 or 3 years, I think it's been huge. I think it shows the maturity of the organization and what they need to sell the program. You're seeing more and more wrestling leagues and that type of stuff where people understand the rules now, and it's a product that is easily sold. So that's selling to the masses, and it's selling to the kids and the parents and coaches that are teaching it, and understanding that the future of college wrestling or folk style wrestling is freestyle wrestling, regardless of what you want to do. There's no Olympics for folk style wrestling, so there's got to be some type of foundation there, and they see that the best guys in the world, the best guys in college wrestling, the best guys in folk style wrestling are wrestling freestyle, and that's only enhancing their skill set on the folk style front. It's keeping you in good position, keeping your hips in, your head up, not exposing yourself. It's not all about funk rolls and power halves. It's wrestling those big time scramble positions where the head high is going to win, and you're going to keep yourself in good position, or you're going to allow yourself to get in bad position and possibly lose the match for it. So the corresponding styles are huge, and it's only going to get better, and you're going to see the wrestling continue to increase. The younger guys getting better and better and better because they are competing both styles and figuring out how to be very, very successful and keep themselves in good position.
Now, my question will go back to your career. I mean, you came out of college. We still had the old school rule set. Then we make this change, this 3 periods, best 2 out of 3. And this is like, kind of the prime of your senior level career. And then you come out, years later and you play 7th at the Open at 40. How much do you think your career would have been different if you had this current set of rules during the prime of your freestyle career, including the year you made the Olympics?
Man, it's neither here nor there, and I think making the 2012 team was kind of culmination of a lot of headaches and kind of having to rewrite my style per se. And I can't tell you how many. You can't go back and say, if I went back and looked at every match that I lost because I won the first period 6-0. 2-1 or 1-2, 0-1. I bet I could name 10 big matches, whether it was the U.S. Open Finals or World Team Trial Final, where I literally, I could have tech fouled the guy in the first minute, but because we had to stop it at 6-0, and then I would lose 2-1, 1-2, or something like that. I believe in God's timing. I believe everything happened for a reason, and it is what it is, and you wrestle to the rules, and you win some, you lose some, and you're better for it the next day. So, just have had a blessed career when it comes to the sport of wrestling and what wrestling has done for me, and where I'm at today as a man and a coach and father and a son. So, just fired up and excited to be better tomorrow and continue to build this program to sites it hasn't seen.
Now, in the old rules set, you lost a controversial match to make a world team. Then you won a situation where, you get taken down, but still win the match at Carver Hawkeye. So, there's those confusions of the old rules. With the rule set we have now, the criteria was introduced in the old rule set. It is carried over to this rule set, but it seems like there seems to be a little bit more support and some gaining, I guess, acceptance of criteria instead of overtime. What are your thoughts on how criteria has evolved and maybe the mindset of fans and even coaches going, okay, yeah, we know the rules. This is how it's going to be. You always know that somebody is winning and somebody's losing at every single point during the match.
Yeah, I think as long as everyone knows what that criteria is, and it seems like it's held serve for the last at least year, maybe two, because I know there's still some questioning of whether a caution superseded a last score or whatnot. But as long as we know, and I think with that line on the scoreboard, that usually helps too. As long as going in, I think it helps. I think it goes all the way down, not just the athlete and the coach, but when you know that the longest a match is going to go is 6 minutes or 7-8 minutes, whatever the case. There's some reviews or whatnot, but that only helps the viewing audience. The paying customer, because some of these matches, you look at a Paulson Hall that goes for 25 minutes, and
in Greco,
if there's right in Greco, right, but there's I've seen a lot of goes. I've seen Mekhi McFadden go for 20 minutes without a score or whatever. There's only so many matches that you can wrestle that overtime for 20 minutes, and next thing you know, you're in the stands at 11 p.m. at night after starting at 9 in the morning. So it's good. It's great, and as long as everyone knows who's winning, who's losing, I think it's a good place to be.
Lastly, I'm going to circle back to the U.S. Open because you lost early to Joey LaValle, then you came back. I remember when you wrestled the Midlands after you had graduated, a lot of people as post-grads, they lose. Okay, they default out. They're done. You wrestled back as a postgraduate. You wrestled back as a 40-year-old. Why wrestle back? What do you have to prove? What's the benefit? What's the incentive there?
I think it just goes back to your coaching philosophy, how you were brought up. I went there to compete and fulfill a lost bet, I guess. But regardless, if you're healthy, you're there to wrestle, and I believe in the next best thing. And if you can't get first, then you got to go fight for the next best thing, which is third, and then so on and so on. And that's what I teach my guys. I want my guys to, that's just not something that I believe is the right thing to do, and the right thing to do, if you're willing to toe the line to start the tournament, you better be ready to toe the line at the end of the tournament. So I want all my guys to believe in that. That it's a big deal, losing, some of these guys losing in the NCAA semifinals or the quarterfinals, and you got to be able to, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and find a way to get motivated and go back out and go get the next best thing. And, obviously the motivation, it is what it is. I went and wrestled and I was just doing it for, because I lost a bet, but it's still, nothing changes. The perspective, the mindset, the point I'm trying to get across to my guys is that sometimes, and trust me, after that loss, I was, super frustrated. I've gone through this time and time again, whether it was a criteria call or time was out call or whatever, my hands weren't locked in a clinch right call, whatever. And to have to wrestle back from that, I didn't plan on losing. I came out here to win the U.S. Open and to lose in the pre-quarters, whatever that is. It stunk and it stung, and it was something that I didn't like to happen, but you get up and you do it again because that's what we do, and that's what I expect my guys to do.
Jared Frayer giving us some interesting insight and perspective on his career, his philosophy on wrestling back. I guess that's something that, if coach says you need to do this and coach doesn't do it, do as I say, not as I do. You actually said, no, this is what I did. You can go back to Midlands. You can go back and see all this stuff after I graduated. But, interesting perspective. And last question I got to know, how was your body feeling the next day at 40?
To tell you the truth, I felt great till about Monday or Tuesday. and then it all went down from there, but feeling good now. I got a good workout this morning, and I came out of there unscathed. And literally Tuesday morning, I was drilling Mackay, and he blasted me with the head to the eye and had a swollen eye. And my wife said, "Did you do that at the tournament?" I said, "No, drilling Mackay got me." So, yeah, man, I'm good. I'm ready to go. If I need to be called on again, I'll be ready to go again. So, yeah,
too bad he's got no more eligibility, Hokie fans. Jared Frayer, he is senior level All-American once again. And, what's it going to take for you to wrestle trials now? What bet has to happen? What bet do you have to lose to wrestle trials in Raleigh?
It obviously hasn't come to fruition yet, so I'll let you know if it does.
Hokie Nation, see what you can throw at him. All right, Coach Frayer, good talking with you. Always good catching up. And, okay, man, congrats, man. Giving us class of 97, something to cheer about.
Thanks, Jason.
Hokie fans, listen to Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling anywhere you go by subscribing on Apple Podcasts. Go to InsideVirginiaTechWrestling.com/iTunes, or you can get the exclusive Android or iOS apps by going to InsideVirginiaTechWrestling.com.
Show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.